I think so. What do you think?
I've drafted Orzhov about 75% of the time, and I never felt like... I honestly feel like Gruul always feels like the most impressive one, both when I'm playing it and when I'm playing
I'm not
against
saying
it.
the most impressive.
Yeah.
I think Boros and Gruul are perhaps more impressive than Orzhov.
You think there's just more cards to take in Orzhov?
I know that in preparing for the last PT, we were keeping track of all the draft results, and we found that Orzhov was drafted an average of 3 times per draft, whereas Boros and Gruul were each drafted, a little more than 1.5 times per draft.
No way.
Absolutely, and Boros and Gruul just had incredible win percentages.
Of course they would. At 1 and 2 times per, even 2 drafters per draft. 2 Gruul decks or two Boros decks should be very rich.
Yep, absolutely. But Orzhov, I think, can comfortably support 3.
So who had the best win percentages at your practice drafts?
There was a few of us that were all up there. I mean, Matt Sperling had a very small sample size, which makes, if you just want to go straight on percentage.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean which magicians. I meant which guild.
Oh, definitely Boros, followed by Gruul. But I think both of them were underdrafted in our house.
It sounded like it. One or 2 drafters in draft.
Plus,
I could see
Demir was drafted an average of twice per draft, and it was abysmal. Like, Simic's win percentage was pretty close to 50-50. It was a little south of 50-50, averaging 1 drafter per draft.
Yeah.
And then Orzhov supported 3 drafters per draft and was a little north of 50. And Gruul and Boros just had awesome win percentages.
Of course, with 1 drafter?
With, 1.7. And then finally, Demir, an average of 2 drafters with a win record of about 29%. But we also may just be a house full of degenerates who can't stop drafting blue cards.
Oh. A 1 drop from Pat Cox. Will he get in for 2?
He will.
He will. Ooh, it's a Bomber Core.
What do you think about the Bomber Core?
I like him. I had several discussions about him on the weekend, and I understand that a lot of the time he's just Squire. But, I mean, when you're like second turn Burning Tree Bomber Core, your opponent's in a lot of problems. Like, you could follow up with a Sky Knight Legionnaire, but already have a guy on board. Like, yeah, any of their X1s are just gone. Like, Bomber Core just craps on the 5-1. It's...
I think it gives you a lot of nice tactical options, Although John does have the follow-up that he wants most, the Syndic of Tithes. It's definitely going to make it a little challenging for Pat. Pat, in terms of combat tricks, doesn't really have a ton he can do here. He's got, he's got Mugging just as a straight removal spell, and he's got a couple of... I guess just 1 Martial Glory and 1 Wrecking Ogre.
So Pat Cox has played Hellraiser, and he's raising Hell, and I believe he put the Bomber Core trigger onto the Syndic.
Surely.
So that the Syndic, if he wants to block the Bomber Core, will have to go down, which means unlikely he would block there. Yeah. Blocking the Hellraiser, I think that's less a testament to being afraid of the Hellraiser and more a testament to distaste for the other 2 creatures.
Just a severe disdain for the mediocre beats. John continuing to bring the quality Orzhov curve. Pat's deck is mostly just all dudes, right?
He's got 17 lands. 2 armored transports.
And he's got 1 Scorch Walker. That's, 1 Martial Glory.
He's got 2 Wojak Halberdiers, a Spark Trooper.
So John decides to just bounce, would rather have his Screecher than trade with the Foundry Street Denizen. I don't blame him.
I think that's a fine play.
Well, the biggest issue with that is that now Pat's going to be able to trigger his Battalion for his Warmind infantry next turn. Now, how much removal does John actually have?
Let's look. He's got Devour Flesh times 1,
which he has in his hand.
A Smite. Well, he's touching for Assemble the Legion.
We've been seeing a lot of Borzhov decks this weekend.
Every single time I played an Orzhov deck touching for Assemble the Legion, I was highly unsuccessful. I would draw my 2 mountains or something.
I think this is like the 3rd Orzhov deck touching Assemble the Legion that we've seen this weekend. I know that was Tom Martell's MO. Or I thought that. He was certainly assembling a Legion.
Let's see, what's his blue splash for? Is it for hexproof or something. He's got 2 Dimir Guildgates in his
No, he's
hand.
got Call of the Nightwing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just 1 Call of the Nightwing.
And-
Interesting twist.
Well, and he's supporting the Assembled Legion only on 1 Boros Guildgate? Yeah. That seems ambitious.
So Pat deciding which creature to devour the flesh of. The Foundry, the Street Denizen, or the Bomber Corps?
Oh, for sure you're going to get rid of the Denizen, I think. The
And he
Bomber
does.
Corps is a lot of tactical advantage later in the game. The Denizen is
Well, plus,
pretty reliant
The
on...
Bomber Corps will keep bouncing off the Screecher, whereas the Foundry Street Denizen could get eaten by the Screecher, which would deactivate Battalion again.
Fair enough. So
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I think in this case, the beats continue.
that's a pretty good Battalion
Yeah,
guy.
Pat's all in now.
But he's got actual, 3 battalions on play?
He
4
does.
battalions?
He's got 4 battalions, the full 4 out of 4. Now John did draw a land finally, so he has his 4th land. Question is, does he have any quality plays to make, or is he going to be stuck just playing something like...
Purge the Profane?
Well, no, he's got a couple options. He's got the Kingpin Pet plus Extort, which he could then use to block something with this creature. Or, more likely, he plays the 3/2 Syndic Enforcer, hoping to trade it with the Warmind Infantry. One of the tough things here is that he's got to figure out a way to shut down the battalions, because until he does, the Halberdier and the Boros Elite are going to be too big of threats for him to deal with. At least the infantry he can trade. He could trade with the Elite if he wanted, but he's got to deal with that infantry first.
You're a big fan of Boros Elite and Constructed, yeah?
I don't know about a big fan.
You admire its ability.
It's borderline playable in some decks. I wouldn't want to play those decks. Definitely championed the removal of it from the Aristocrats deck, which had it up until the night before the PT.
Really?
I was one of about 8 people who all championed the removal of that particular stinker.
Yeah. Who wanted it? Is more interesting.
Everybody who liked to goldfish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Boros Elite is very good for the people who did not actually play games, but just took test draws.
You didn't summon the Aristocrats, right? You summoned Esper at that tournament?
Oh yeah, and it's funny actually. Esper was one of the 2 best performing macro archetypes, despite having below 50% win percentage.
Wow.
It's strange.
No, I understand what
the
you're
reason
saying.
is because only 10% of the field played Esper, yet nearly 15% of the field that had a winning record was playing Esper. It's just that some of the people who had losing records with Esper bombed out so hard.
All right, so Bomber Corps puts its ting onto...
The bat again.
No. Went to the 3/2.
Sure.
So
6 damage on
6
John,
in onto
dropping
John.
into 8.
I mean, John really had to get rid of the Warmind Infantry, right? It's kind of a lot of damage if you let it stay.
So now he plays the Kingpin and extorts Pat, trying to give himself a little more breathing room. At this point, he can trade the Kingpin's Pet with the Bomber Corps, or he can double block the Boros Elite.
I think that's kind of dangerous. Like, if Pat has a trick, double blocking the Boros Elite's a disaster, right?
Yeah, and he's got to get the Bomber Corps off the table because he's, it's very possible John's going to drop to 1 life on this attack.
Yeah, likely block is against the Bomber Corps, which means 6 are coming in. And he's contemplating the double block, I think. Yep, I think he's going to take your line. No? Reconsidering it?
It's not. I don't know if I would call it my line because I kind of think you might want to get that Bomber Corps off the table.
I agree, but being on 1's real stinky.
It's a precarious position to be sure.
See, being on 1's really bad, especially if you let the Bomber Corps live. And he has a
Sloan, if Pat did 1 damage to John? No, he didn't.
No, he
did it to
didn't.
one of the
He
guys.
put it to the
Yeah.
Kingpin's back.
Wow, devastating.
Every guy that Pat Cox drafted has Battalion.
Yeah, it's a theme. This is real tough because 2 first strikers mean that even Night's Watch doesn't save him. It's not even a fog. Yeah, I think that block was probably going to cost him. I mean, No, I think at this point,
I think
the
that
veteran
it might not
is
have
too
mattered.
far. Yeah, he's too far behind. But he can buy himself at least one more turn. He doesn't have merciless eviction or anything like that, right?
I don't believe so. He's got... None of these are very super
So he
powerful
plays the
cards.
Angel. The Angel can block all 3 attackers, which would bring it up to a 6/6. Unfortunately, first strike damage alone would kill it. And John would take 1 damage from the Bomber Core. Yeah, Guardian the Gateless, a very, very powerful uncommon, but John's just too far behind at this point.
It's really good against Assemble the Legion, right?
It is.
It'll hold off the entire Legion.
Pat, reading it, wanting to make sure he understands the text of this particular fog. Swings with the team. Announces his triggers correctly. John preparing to bin his last hope.
Then probably what?
And the beats continue. We have the 9th different battalion creature from Pat Cox.
He just... Every guy's got...
All right, and Pat Cox advances. I believe Pat Cox advances to 13-2.